Communication is at the heart of every human interaction. Whether we are speaking with friends, family, co-workers, or strangers, communication is a tool we use to express our thoughts, needs, and emotions. Yet, despite its fundamental importance, many people struggle with communication, not because they lack the ability to speak, but because they haven't mastered the skill of effective communication. The difference between speaking and truly communicating is vast, and it is something that can transform not only your personal relationships, but your professional success as well. In this book, we will delve into the various aspects of communication that can make all the difference in how you connect with others. By the end of this journey, you will have a comprehensive understanding of communication and, more importantly, a set of practical tools and techniques to improve your communication skills. Communication, after all, is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed and refined over time. At its core, communication is the process of transferring information, ideas, and emotions between individuals. The word communication comes from the Latin word communicare, meaning to share or to make common. This simple idea encapsulates the purpose of communication, sharing our internal thoughts with others in a way that allows both parties to understand and connect. However, effective communication is much more than just sharing information. It involves clarity, understanding, and empathy. It means making sure that the message you're conveying is received as you intended, and that the other person's thoughts, feelings, and perspectives are acknowledged and valued. Without these elements, communication can easily devolve into confusion, frustration, or even conflict. The evolution of communication through history, starting from primitive gestures and grunts to the sophisticated language and technology we have today, demonstrates its importance. From the dawn of civilization, humans have relied on communication to work together, build relationships, and solve problems. Today, the way we communicate continues to evolve, with digital technology and social media shaping how we interact with one another. Why should you invest time and energy into becoming a better communicator? Simply put, communication is the key to success in every aspect of life. Whether you're trying to advance in your career, improve your personal relationships, or simply become a more confident and persuasive individual, effective communication is the bridge that connects your goals to your achievements. In the professional world, communication is a critical skill. It affects your ability to lead, collaborate with colleagues, negotiate, and influence decisions. A manager who communicates effectively can motivate and inspire their team, while a leader who struggles to express their ideas clearly can create confusion and distrust. In addition, with the rise of remote work and digital communication, being able to express yourself through email, video calls, and social media is now just as important as face-to-face communication. In personal relationships, the way we communicate can determine the depth and quality of our connections with others. Misunderstandings, assumptions, and lack of clear communication are often the root causes of conflict between partners, friends, and family members. On the other hand, practicing open, honest, and empathetic communication helps to create stronger bonds, resolve conflicts, and foster mutual respect. Whether it's with your significant other, a parent, or a close friend, knowing how to communicate effectively will make your relationships more fulfilling. To truly understand communication, it's important to look at its key components. While there are many different models and theories about communication, most experts agree that it consists of several elements: the sender, the message, the medium, the receiver, and feedback. The sender is the person who initiates the communication, delivering a message to another individual through a chosen medium, such as spoken words, written text, or body language. The receiver is the person who receives and interprets the message. Feedback, which can be verbal or nonverbal, is the response from the receiver that confirms or clarifies the message. Noise, whether it's physical, psychological, or emotional, can often disrupt the communication process, making it harder for the message to be understood. Effective communication relies on the clarity and accuracy of the message being conveyed, the understanding of the receiver, and the reduction of any barriers that might interfere. When these elements are functioning harmoniously, communication becomes much more than just an exchange of words. It becomes an opportunity to connect on a deeper level. One of the most vital aspects of improving your communication skills is self-awareness. To communicate effectively with others, you first need to understand your own communication style, strengths, and areas for improvement. Are you an active listener, or do you tend to interrupt others? Are you aware of your body language? Or do you unknowingly convey defensiveness or disinterest? Being aware of your own communication habits and behaviors allows you to recognize areas for improvement. It also helps you understand how your words and actions impact those around you, leading to more empathetic and thoughtful interactions. Self-awareness also involves understanding your audience. What are their needs, expectations, and communication preferences? What are their cultural backgrounds or emotional states? Effective communicators are able to tailor their messages in a way that is appropriate for the audience they are addressing. Improving communication skills is a journey, not a destination. While it's possible to make dramatic improvements in a short amount of time, becoming a truly effective communicator is a lifelong endeavor. As you continue to develop your skills, you'll find that communication becomes more natural, more fulfilling, and more impactful. This book is designed to help you on that journey by providing practical advice, strategies, and exercises that you can apply in both your personal and professional life. Whether you're looking to be a more persuasive speaker, a better listener, or simply someone who connects more deeply with others, the tools you'll find in these pages will guide you every step of the way. By mastering communication, you will unlock the ability to engage, persuade, resolve conflicts, and foster meaningful relationships. Whether you're speaking to a crowd or having a quiet conversation with a loved one, effective communication can make all the difference. Let's begin this exciting journey to becoming a better communicator and ultimately a better version of yourself. Listening is often underestimated in the world of communication. We are taught to speak, to express our thoughts and ideas clearly, but rarely are we taught how to listen. Yet, listening is just as critical, if not more so, than speaking. It is the foundation of effective communication. In fact, the act of listening is so vital that many communication experts argue it constitutes as much as 50% of the communication process. We often hear, "You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason," suggesting that we should listen more than we speak. But what does it mean to truly listen, and why is it so important? The difference between hearing and listening is crucial. Hearing is a passive process. It's the ability to perceive sound with your ears. Listening, however, requires active engagement. When you listen, you're not just hearing words. You're processing, interpreting, and responding. True listening means that you're focused, attentive, and fully present in the moment. It's about more than just understanding the words being spoken. It's about grasping the underlying emotions, intentions, and meanings behind those words. Many people think they're listening, but in reality, they're just waiting for their turn to speak. This is known as selective listening, where the listener only tunes into parts of the conversation that are of interest to them. Selective listening often results in misunderstandings and poor communication, as the speaker may feel unheard or dismissed. Active listening, on the other hand, involves fully focusing on the speaker, withholding judgment, and engaging with the message in a thoughtful, empathetic manner. Effective listening requires several key components, the first of which is attention. Paying attention means not only being physically present, but also being mentally present. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Our phones, computers, and even our own thoughts can pull us away from what's being said. But when we give someone our undivided attention, we demonstrate respect for the speaker and the conversation itself. This means setting aside distractions, making eye contact, and mentally preparing yourself to focus on the speaker's words. It's about being fully present in the moment. The second component of listening is understanding. This goes beyond just hearing the words. It's about comprehending the message in its entirety. Understanding involves interpreting the content, grasping the speaker's emotions, and reading the subtext behind the words. For example, someone might say, "I'm fine," but their body language, tone, and facial expression might tell a different story. Understanding requires picking up on these cues and asking yourself, what is the speaker really trying to communicate? This is where empathy comes in, putting yourself in the other person's shoes and truly trying to understand their perspective. Next is remembering. Effective listening requires retaining the information being shared. While it's not always possible to remember every single detail, active listeners make an effort to recall the key points of the conversation. This is important because it helps build trust with the speaker and makes them feel heard. It also shows that you value their message and are willing to engage with it further. Remembering is especially important in situations where the conversation may span multiple exchanges or take place over a period of time, such as in professional settings or personal relationships. The fourth key component is evaluating. As you listen, it's important to assess the information being presented, but this should be done after fully understanding the message. Evaluation is about determining the relevance, accuracy, and importance of the message. In some cases, this may involve questioning what's being said to clarify certain points or seeking further information. Evaluating does not mean judging or interrupting the speaker, but rather analyzing the message objectively before formulating a response. Finally, the last component is responding. This is where the listener actively participates in the conversation. It's not enough to just listen. You must also provide feedback. This can come in the form of verbal responses, such as paraphrasing or summarizing what was said, or nonverbal cues like nodding, maintaining eye contact, and using appropriate facial expressions. Responding appropriately also means asking questions or offering your own perspective, but always in a way that respects the speaker's message and the flow of the conversation. While these components provide a framework for effective listening, it's important to recognize that there are different types of listening, each suited to different contexts. For example, informational listening occurs when we listen to gain knowledge, such as during a lecture or a meeting. In these situations, our primary goal is to absorb information and retain it for later use. Critical listening, on the other hand, is when we evaluate the information being presented, questioning its validity, logic, or relevance. This type of listening is common in discussions, debates, and when analyzing arguments. Empathetic listening involves listening with the intention of understanding someone's emotions, such as when providing support to a friend who is going through a difficult time. This requires us to not only hear their words, but to be attuned to the feelings behind them. Listening is also an essential skill in conflict resolution. Often, when people are in conflict, they're too focused on their own emotions and opinions to really listen to the other person's perspective. In these situations, active listening can help de-escalate tensions and create an environment where both parties feel heard. When people feel listened to, they're more likely to be open to compromise and resolution. One of the biggest barriers to effective listening is distractions. Whether it's external noise, technology, or internal distractions such as stress or preoccupation with your own thoughts, distractions make it difficult to focus on the speaker. In order to listen effectively, it's crucial to minimize these distractions as much as possible. This might mean putting away your phone, finding a quiet place, or taking a few deep breaths to clear your mind before a conversation. Another common barrier to effective listening is judgment. Sometimes we listen to respond rather than understand, or we let our biases influence how we hear a message. This can lead to misinterpretations or even dismissing what the speaker is saying without fully processing it. Being non-judgmental and keeping an open mind is essential for effective listening. It's about letting the speaker express themselves without forming conclusions too quickly. Listening is not just a passive activity. It's an active, intentional skill that can transform the way you communicate. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or casual conversations, the ability to listen well can deepen your connections, reduce misunderstandings, and foster trust. By honing the art of listening, you will not only become a better communicator, but also a more empathetic and engaged individual. Effective listening is an ongoing practice, and like any skill, it requires patience, dedication, and a willingness to improve. In the following chapters, we will explore different aspects of communication that build on listening, such as nonverbal communication, assertiveness, and conflict resolution. But before we move forward, remember that listening is the bedrock upon which all other communication skills are built. Master the art of listening, and the rest of your communication skills will naturally follow. When we think of communication, we often focus on the words we use, the things we say aloud. However, research suggests that only about 7% of communication is verbal, while a staggering 93% is nonverbal. This means that the way we communicate through our body language, facial expressions, gestures, posture, and even tone of voice can have a far more significant impact than the words we speak. Nonverbal communication is a silent language that speaks volumes, and understanding its nuances can drastically improve your ability to connect with others. Nonverbal communication is often more powerful than verbal communication because it can express emotions and intentions that words alone cannot. For instance, a person might say, "I'm fine," but their body language, such as slumped shoulders, a tight jaw, or downcast eyes, might convey the opposite message. Our bodies can express what our words may fail to capture, and being able to read and utilize nonverbal cues can create stronger, more authentic communication. One of the most important aspects of nonverbal communication is body language. Body language includes all the physical movements, gestures, and postures we use while interacting with others. It is often unconscious, and yet it can reveal a great deal about how we are feeling and what we are thinking. Even small shifts in posture or subtle hand movements can provide important clues about a person's emotions, level of comfort, and engagement in a conversation. Take, for example, eye contact, an essential component of body language. Eye contact conveys attention, interest, and sincerity. When we make eye contact with someone, it shows that we are engaged in the conversation and that we are actively listening. However, the duration and intensity of eye contact can also communicate other emotions. Prolonged or intense eye contact can sometimes be perceived as confrontational or aggressive, while avoiding eye contact might be interpreted as disinterest, discomfort, or even dishonesty. In addition to eye contact, the way we use our hands while speaking plays a significant role in nonverbal communication. Gestures, such as pointing, waving, or using hand movements to emphasize a point, can add clarity and emphasis to our words. However, gestures can also convey unintended messages, so it's essential to be aware of their meaning in different cultural contexts. For example, the gesture of giving a thumbs up is generally understood as a positive signal in many cultures, but in some countries, it can be seen as offensive. Therefore, understanding the context and cultural nuances of gestures is important for effective communication. Facial expressions are another crucial form of nonverbal communication. Our faces are incredibly expressive and can convey a wide range of emotions, from joy to frustration to surprise. In fact, research suggests that humans can make over 7,000 different facial expressions, which means our faces have a vast vocabulary of nonverbal signals. A smile, for instance, can indicate warmth and friendliness, while a furrowed brow may signal confusion or concern. It's important to recognize that our facial expressions often communicate more powerfully than the words we use. For example, a person might say, "I'm happy," but if their facial expression shows sadness or tension, it creates a mixed message that can lead to confusion. Another important aspect of body language is posture. The way we hold ourselves in conversation, whether standing tall, slouching, or leaning forward, can communicate our level of interest, confidence, and openness. A person who stands with their arms crossed might be perceived as defensive or closed off, even if they are not consciously trying to send that message. Similarly, someone who maintains an open, relaxed posture and faces a speaker directly is generally seen as engaged and receptive. By being mindful of your posture, you can send a message of openness, attentiveness, and willingness to communicate. Proxemics, or the use of personal space, is another key element of nonverbal communication. People's comfort with physical distance varies depending on cultural norms, social context, and personal preferences. In some cultures, standing close to someone is a sign of warmth and intimacy, while in others, it may feel intrusive or uncomfortable. Understanding the personal space preferences of others is crucial for establishing rapport and avoiding misunderstandings. For instance, during a conversation, if you stand too close to someone who values personal space, they may feel uneasy or threatened. Similarly, standing too far away may create a sense of distance or disengagement. Tone of voice is another powerful nonverbal cue that often conveys more than the words themselves. The pitch, volume, speed, and inflection of our voice can change the meaning of a sentence entirely. For example, saying "I'm fine" in a monotone voice can suggest that the person is actually upset, whereas saying the same word with a bright and cheerful tone would convey genuine happiness. Tone of voice can express sarcasm, sincerity, anger, excitement, or calmness, all without a single change in the words used. It's crucial to pay attention to not just what someone says, but how they say it. Touch is also a significant form of nonverbal communication, though it is more context-dependent than other cues. A pat on the back, a handshake, or a hug can express warmth and camaraderie, but the meaning of touch can vary greatly across cultures and situations. In some cultures, physical touch is an important form of bonding, while in others, it may be perceived as inappropriate or invasive. Being aware of cultural norms and the comfort levels of others regarding touch is essential for successful communication. Nonverbal communication is not only about interpreting the signals from others, but also about sending the right messages through your own body language. One of the key benefits of mastering nonverbal communication is that it allows you to present yourself more authentically. If your body language is aligned with your words, your message will come across as more credible and sincere. For example, if you say you're excited about a project, but your slouched posture and lack of eye contact suggest otherwise, your listener may question your enthusiasm. By ensuring that your body language reflects your verbal communication, you create consistency and trust. Becoming more attuned to nonverbal communication also involves learning how to recognize mixed messages. Mixed messages occur when someone's words and body language contradict each other. For example, a person might say they're open to hearing feedback, but their crossed arms and tense posture suggest offensiveness. Recognizing these contradictions can help you better understand the true emotions and intentions behind someone's words. Additionally, by being aware of your own body language, you can avoid sending mixed messages and improve the clarity of your communication. Nonverbal communication plays an essential role in forming relationships, building trust, and conveying emotions. By becoming more aware of the cues you send through your body language and learning to read the nonverbal signals of others, you can improve the quality of your interactions and deepen your connections. In the next chapters, we will explore how nonverbal communication works in conjunction with other aspects of communication, such as listening, feedback, and conflict resolution, to create more effective and meaningful conversations. Mastering nonverbal communication is about understanding the silent language of the body. It's about learning to speak through your gestures, posture, eye contact, and tone in a way that aligns with your words and strengthens your message. By becoming more conscious of your own body language and improving your ability to interpret others, you'll open the door to a deeper, more impactful form of communication. When it comes to communication, the words we use are perhaps the most obvious element. We rely on verbal communication to share our thoughts, express our emotions, and convey information. But the true power of verbal communication lies not just in what we say, but in how we say it. The way we use language, the tone, clarity, and structure of our words, can make all the difference in how our messages are received and understood. Finding your voice in communication means learning to express yourself in a way that is both clear and authentic. It's about aligning your words with your true intentions and emotions so that others can easily understand and connect with what you're trying to convey. Whether in casual conversation, public speaking, or professional discussions, your voice plays a key role in how effective your communication will be. At its core, verbal communication involves the use of words to convey meaning. However, words are not always enough on their own. Our message is shaped by the tone of voice, pace, and inflection we use. Think about how a simple sentence, such as "I'm fine," can be interpreted differently depending on how it's said. If spoken in a neutral tone, it may come across as casual or indifferent, but if said with a soft, trembling voice, it might suggest sadness or distress. The same words can evoke entirely different feelings based on the way they are expressed. This is why mastering verbal communication is about more than just knowing the right words to use. It's about choosing the right words and delivering them with the appropriate tone and timing. To do this, it's important to become mindful of several key aspects of verbal communication. Clarity and conciseness. One of the most important aspects of effective verbal communication is clarity. It's easy to fall into the trap of over-explaining or using jargon that might confuse your listener. However, when you are trying to communicate effectively, less is often more. Being clear and concise in your speech ensures that your listener can easily follow and absorb the information you're sharing. Avoiding unnecessary filler words such as, like, and can also help make your communication sound more confident and authoritative. These words may seem harmless, but they can detract from your message and make it sound less intentional. When you take the time to organize your thoughts before speaking, you can convey your message in a more focused and powerful way. Tone and inflection. The tone of your voice can convey a wealth of information beyond the literal meaning of your words. A warm, friendly tone can create an atmosphere of trust and openness, while a harsh or sarcastic tone can create tension or defensiveness. Similarly, inflection, how your voice rises and falls as you speak, can influence how your words are interpreted. A rising tone at the end of the sentence may suggest uncertainty or a question, while a flat or falling tone might convey authority or finality. When communicating, it's important to vary your tone and inflection to keep the conversation engaging and to emphasize key points. This is particularly important in situations like public speaking, where maintaining interest and attention is crucial. Monotony can cause listeners to disengage, so varying your pitch and rhythm can help maintain their focus and drive home the message. Pacing. Pacing refers to the speed at which you speak. Speaking too quickly can make it difficult for others to follow your words and can even create a sense of nervousness or anxiety. On the other hand, speaking too slowly can lead to boredom or frustration. The ideal pacing allows the listener to absorb the information comfortably while keeping the conversation moving forward. In certain contexts, it can be helpful to pause for a moment after key points. Pauses allow the listener time to digest the information, reflect on what has been said, and prepare for the next segment of the conversation. Pausing also gives you the opportunity to gather your thoughts, which can help you speak with greater confidence and coherence. Choosing the right words. The words you choose in any conversation are fundamental to how your message will be received. The language you use can influence how people perceive your ideas and intentions. Precision in word choice can help eliminate ambiguity, while using the right vocabulary can create a sense of professionalism and credibility. At the same time, it's important to be mindful of your audience and adjust your language accordingly. For example, if you're speaking to a group of professionals, you might use more formal or technical language. However, in a casual conversation with friends, a more informal or approachable tone may be more appropriate. The ability to adapt your language to different audiences is an essential communication skill. Beyond technical vocabulary, the emotional weight of your words is also important. Language has the power to inspire, motivate, and connect, but it can also wound, confuse, or alienate. For example, using inclusive language such as we or us can help foster a sense of community, while exclusionary language can create division. Similarly, using positive and encouraging words can boost morale, while negative language can bring about doubt and frustration. Active listening and verbal feedback. Effective verbal communication is not just about speaking. It also involves active listening. Active listening means fully engaging with the speaker and providing verbal feedback to show that you're paying attention and understanding their message. Simple phrases like, "I see what you mean," or "that makes sense," can show the speaker that you're engaged in conversation and value their input. Additionally, asking open-ended questions and providing relevant feedback during the conversation can keep the dialogue flowing and ensure that both parties are aligned in their understanding. When you actively participate in a conversation, you not only demonstrate attentiveness, but also contribute to a more productive and collaborative exchange. The role of empathy in verbal communication. Empathy is a key component of effective communication. When you communicate with empathy, you show that you understand and care about the other person's feelings and perspective. This is especially important in emotionally charged situations, where the words you choose can either escalate or de-escalate the conversation. For example, if a colleague is upset about a project deadline, responding with understanding and empathy, such as saying, "I understand how frustrating that must be. Let's figure out a solution together," can help diffuse tension and foster a sense of cooperation. By choosing words that acknowledge and validate the other person's emotions, you create a more supportive and constructive dialogue. Public speaking and presentation skills. Public speaking is one of the most challenging forms of verbal communication, but it is also one of the most rewarding. Whether you're giving a speech, delivering a presentation, or leading a meeting, your ability to speak clearly and confidently can greatly impact your audience's reception of your message. When speaking to a group, it's important to maintain good posture, make eye contact, and project your voice so that everyone in the room can hear and understand you. Using visual aids, stories, and examples can also help make your message more engaging and memorable. The more prepared you are, the more confident you will feel, and the more effectively you'll be able to convey your ideas. Finding your authentic voice. Ultimately, Finding your voice in communication is about being true to yourself and expressing your ideas with confidence and clarity. Authenticity is key to building trust and rapport with your audience, whether you're speaking one-on-one or addressing a crowd. When you speak from a place of honesty and integrity, your words carry more weight and your message resonates more deeply with others. Verbal communication is a skill that can be honed over time, and by being mindful of the words you use, the tone and pace of your delivery, and the emotional impact of your message, you can become a more effective communicator. Whether in personal conversations, professional settings, or public speaking engagements, mastering the art of verbal communication is essential to building meaningful connections and achieving your goals. In communication, it's often easy to forget that our words carry weight beyond their literal meaning. There is a subtle power in how we communicate that goes far beyond the message we intend to convey. The essence of communication isn't just about relaying information. It's about connection. And connection, as we know, is a two-way street. We must learn how to not only speak, but also how to receive and understand. One of the most important aspects of effective communication is the ability to manage and navigate feedback. Whether it's positive or negative, feedback is a critical element in shaping our conversations. It is a mirror that reflects back the impact of our words, our tone, and our actions. However, the act of receiving feedback often comes with discomfort, especially when it's critical. The key here is not to view feedback as a personal attack, but as a chance for growth, a tool to improve how we engage with others. Feedback allows us to see our blind spots, to understand how our words and actions land with those around us. By accepting feedback graciously, we are not admitting failure, but embracing the possibility of becoming better communicators, better listeners, and better people. But feedback isn't just something we receive. It's something we give as well. Offering constructive feedback, particularly in a way that is empathetic and clear, can be a transformative skill. Often, feedback is needed to help someone improve or understand how their actions are affecting others. However, there's a fine art to providing feedback in a way that doesn't alienate or discourage. It's about being honest but kind, direct but gentle. Framing feedback in a way that fosters understanding instead of defensiveness can turn a potentially difficult conversation into an opportunity for deeper connection and growth. Of course, a significant part of both receiving and giving feedback lies in our ability to listen deeply. Active listening, as we have discussed before, is more than just hearing the words that are spoken. It's about paying attention to the emotional undertones and the nuances of what's being communicated. It's about engaging with the speaker's words in a way that allows us to understand their feelings and perspectives. Sometimes, the message isn't just in the content. It's in the silence, in the spaces between words. To truly listen, we must silence the chatter in our own minds, resist the urge to prepare a response before the speaker is finished, and instead, be present in the moment. This deep listening goes hand in hand with empathy, which is a foundational element in all forms of meaningful communication. To communicate effectively, we must first understand that we are not the center of the universe. Our experiences are not universal. By cultivating empathy, we open ourselves to truly understanding the experiences of others, even when they differ from our own. It allows us to meet people where they are, to step into their shoes and see the world through their eyes. Without empathy, our words can sound hollow or dismissive, and our relationships can suffer as a result. With empathy, however, we can transform ordinary conversations into meaningful exchanges, building trust and rapport that deepen over time. While empathy and listening allow us to understand others, assertiveness is a key to expressing ourselves in ways that are clear, direct, and respectful. Assertiveness is not about being aggressive or dominating the conversation. It's about standing firm in our thoughts and feelings while respecting the space and perspectives of others. It's the ability to express our needs and boundaries clearly without guilt or hesitation. Assertiveness helps us communicate with confidence, ensuring that our voices are heard without silencing those around us. In addition to these qualities, clarity plays a critical role in effective communication. So often, miscommunication arises because our thoughts are not organized or our message is not conveyed in a clear and coherent manner. This can happen in casual conversations, in professional settings, or even in intimate relationships. Clear communication means organizing our thoughts before speaking, choosing our words carefully and ensuring that the message we intend to send is the one that actually reaches a listener. This doesn't mean oversimplifying or dumbing down our message. It means stripping away the unnecessary noise that can cloud our words and focusing on what truly matters. Nonverbal cues, too, play a powerful role in how we communicate. As we discussed before, our body language speaks volumes. The way we position ourselves, our facial expressions, our tone of voice, these all contribute to the message we are sending. Sometimes, our bodies reveal more than our words ever could. Think about a time when someone told you, "I'm fine," but their body language told a completely different story. This disconnect between verbal and nonverbal cues can often lead to confusion or misinterpretation. Being mindful of our own body language, as well as being attuned to the nonverbal signals of others, can deepen our understanding and enrich our communication. Effective communication also requires a degree of adaptability. Each conversation is unique, and each person we interact with brings their own experiences, emotions, and perspectives into the dialogue. What works in one conversation might not work in another. To communicate effectively, we must be flexible enough to adjust our approach based on the person we are speaking with and the context in which the conversation takes place. This adaptability doesn't mean changing who we are or compromising our values. It means being aware of the dynamics of the conversation and adjusting our communication style to fit the situation. Lastly, it is important to recognize that communication is a skill that is constantly evolving. We may find ourselves becoming more effective communicators as we learn from our experiences, reflect on our interactions, and practice these skills over time. It's an ongoing journey of growth, one that requires patience, persistence, and an openness to learning. We may stumble along the way, misstep in our conversations, or miss the mark entirely. But the key is not perfection. The key is to keep improving, to keep trying, and to remain committed to fostering meaningful and authentic connections with the people in our lives. True communication is an art, one that is shaped by our intention, our understanding, and our ability to listen, empathize, and express ourselves with clarity and respect. It is not just about conveying information. It is about building bridges, nurturing relationships, and deepening our connections with others. Communication is the thread that ties us together, and when we learn to wield it effectively, we open ourselves to a world of possibilities. Effective communication is not just about mastering the mechanics of speaking and listening. It's about building a relationship with the person you are communicating with, understanding their needs, and responding with the intention to connect, not simply to convey information. One of the most essential skills in this realm is the ability to engage in meaningful dialogue, which goes beyond the exchange of words and touches the deeper aspects of understanding. When we engage in dialogue, we enter into a space of shared meaning. This is not a space for debate or a place to convince others of our opinions. Rather, dialogue is an exploration of ideas, where we seek to understand and be understood. The key to meaningful dialogue is to approach the conversation with openness, curiosity, and respect for the other person's perspective. In this space, we're not trying to win a conversation or prove ourselves right, but rather we are embracing the opportunity to learn and grow through our exchange. An essential aspect of meaningful dialogue is asking the right questions. Often, we think communication is about giving answers or sharing our opinions, but the real power lies in asking questions that invite the other person to reflect, to articulate their thoughts in deeper ways. Questions like, "What makes you feel that way?" or "Can you help me understand your perspective?" open up the conversation and allow us to see the world through the other person's eyes. When we ask questions with genuine curiosity, we communicate that we value the other person's thoughts and feelings. Listening during dialogue is just as important as speaking. It's about being fully present in the moment, without distractions or judgment. True listening involves giving the speaker our undivided attention and reflecting back what we've heard. This helps ensure that we've understood their perspective correctly and shows them that we care enough to listen deeply. In this way, listen becomes an act of empathy. It's not just about hearing the words, but about feeling and understanding the emotions behind those words. But even as we listen, we must also pay attention to our own emotions and thoughts. It's natural for us to have reactions during a conversation. Sometimes we may feel defensive, angry, or even frustrated. But if we allow these emotions to dominate, we risk losing the opportunity for real communication. Emotional intelligence, Our ability to recognize and manage our emotions, as well as the emotions of others, plays a significant role in ensuring that we maintain clarity in our conversations. When we are aware of our emotional responses, we can choose how to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Conflict resolution is a crucial aspect of meaningful dialogue. Conflicts are inevitable in any relationship or conversation, but how we handle them determines whether they strengthen or weaken our connection with others. Effective conflict resolution is not about avoiding disagreements, but about approaching them with the intention to find common ground. This requires a willingness to listen to both sides, acknowledge differences, and work collaboratively toward a solution. In conflict, it's essential to remain calm and respectful, even when emotions run high. By focusing on understanding the underlying needs and interests of both parties, we can often find solutions that satisfy everyone involved. One of the challenges in communication is the misinterpretation of messages. We often assume that the way we see the world is the same way others see it, but this is rarely the case. Our experiences, backgrounds, and beliefs shape the way we interpret the world, and by extension, the way we communicate. Misunderstandings can occur when we project our own perspective onto someone else, or when we fail to account for the context in which the other person is speaking. Being aware of these differences can help us approach conversations with greater patience and understanding. It's important to recognize that just because someone doesn't respond in the way we expect doesn't mean they haven't understood our message. It may simply mean they are seeing it from a different perspective. Another key element of meaningful communication is vulnerability. Many of us have been conditioned to protect ourselves from emotional exposure, whether through fear of rejection, judgment, or simply the discomfort of being open. But vulnerability is a cornerstone of authentic communication. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, by sharing our true thoughts, feelings, and experiences, we invite others to do the same. This creates a space for deeper connection, as both parties feel safe and seen. Vulnerability also fosters trust. When we show others that we are willing to be open and honest, they are more likely to reciprocate, leading to a more meaningful exchange. At times, it may feel easy to communicate through surface-level conversations, to stick to pleasantries, avoid difficult topics, and keep things light. But the most impactful conversations are often those that venture beyond the surface and touch on matters of the heart. Whether in personal relationships in the workplace or in a public setting, meaningful dialogue allows us to move beyond small talk and connect on a deeper level. This doesn't mean that every conversation must be intense or profound, but rather that we should be willing to go beneath the surface when the opportunity arises. As we navigate our relationships and engage in dialogue, it's important to remember that communication is a dynamic, ongoing process. No conversation exists in a vacuum, and each exchange builds on the ones that came before. The more we practice the art of meaningful communication, through active listening, empathy, vulnerability, and conflict resolution, the stronger and more authentic our connections will become. Communication is not just a tool for sharing information. It is the bridge that links us to others, helping us to understand, grow, and evolve together. Through meaningful dialogue, we can transform not just our conversations, but our relationships, our understanding of others, and our sense of connection to the world around us. Each conversation holds the potential for growth, for learning, and for deepening our understanding of what it means to truly communicate. It is through this continuous process of exchange and reflection that we become more than just speakers and listeners. We become partners in the shared journey of human connection. Effective communication is an intricate dance, one that requires constant attention, awareness, and practice. While many of us may feel comfortable with everyday conversations, truly mastering the art of communication goes beyond simply talking and listening. It involves understanding the nuances of emotional intelligence, the ability to navigate complex social dynamics, and adapting our communication style to the ever-changing environments in which we find ourselves. One of the fundamental pillars of effective communication is the ability to recognize and manage emotions, both our own and those of others. Emotions are powerful forces, often more influential than words themselves. How we feel can shape the way we interpret what others say, how we respond, and how we behave in a conversation. Recognizing emotions as they arise within us allows us to make conscious decisions about how to respond, rather than simply reacting on impulse. For example, If we feel anger rising during a heated discussion, our instinct may be to lash out, to defend our position vehemently. However, with awareness, we can choose to pause, take a deep breath, and respond thoughtfully, rather than allowing our emotions to control the interaction. This is where emotional intelligence comes into play. It's the ability to be aware of and regulate our emotional responses, ensuring that they don't cloud our judgment or harm our relationships. In addition to managing our own emotions, it's equally important to read the emotions of others. The ability to recognize how someone else is feeling during a conversation can drastically change the course of that exchange. Sometimes, a person may say one thing, but their body language or tone of voice tells us something different. By tuning into these subtle cues, we can adjust our response to meet their emotional state, whether that means offering reassurance, showing empathy, or giving them space. Reading others' emotions with accuracy allows us to connect on a deeper level and respond in a way that resonates with them emotionally. Furthermore, emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. Conflict, inevitable in any relationship, does not need to be avoided. In fact, well-managed conflict can lead to stronger, more resilient bonds. However, it is how we approach conflict that matters. If we enter a disagreement with a mindset that it is an opportunity for growth and understanding, rather than a battle to be won, we create space for healthier, more productive discussions. In these moments, emotional intelligence is key. By understanding the emotions at play, both within ourselves and others, we can engage in conversation with a calm and clear mind, seeking solutions rather than escalating tension. Another essential aspect of communication that is often overlooked is the art of silence. In a world that values speed, efficiency, and constant interaction, silence has become something to avoid. Yet, silence can be a profound tool for communication. It allows us to process information, reflect on what has been said, and formulate a thoughtful response. Silence can also give the speaker space to finish their thoughts, preventing interruptions and ensuring that their words are heard in full. Moreover, silence can create emotional space. When someone is upset or needs time to collect their thoughts, simply offering a pause in the conversation can be an incredibly supportive gesture. It signals that we respect the other person's emotional state and gives them time to process. In many cases, silence speaks louder than words, conveying understanding, patience, and empathy. In addition to silence, timing plays a crucial role in effective communication. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is an art in itself. A well-timed comment, question, or observation can have a profound impact on the direction of a conversation. Conversely, speaking too soon or too late can result in miscommunication or missed opportunities for connection. For example, offering comfort to a grieving person too soon can come off as dismissive, while waiting too long may make them feel unsupported. By being sensitive to the timing of our words and responses, we can ensure that our communication is well-received and impactful. Nonverbal communication also continues to play an indispensable role in how we connect with others. Our facial expressions, gestures, posture, and even the way we position ourselves in conversation send powerful signals. Often, our body language speaks volumes, conveying feelings and intentions that words cannot. This is why it's essential to be mindful of our nonverbal cues, as they can either enhance or undermine the message we're trying to communicate. For instance, crossing our arms may signal defensiveness or discomfort, while open body language, such as uncrossed arms and leaning in slightly, can signal engagement and receptivity. A smile can convey warmth and kindness, while a furrowed brow may indicate concern or confusion. Nonverbal cues also play a significant role in building rapport and trust. When our words align with our body language, we send a message of authenticity and congruence. Conversely, when our verbal communication contradicts our nonverbal signals, we create confusion and mistrust. Another crucial aspect of communication is the power of storytelling. Stories are timeless vessels for conveying ideas, emotions, and experiences. Through storytelling, we connect on a human level, making complex ideas relatable and engaging. Whether in personal relationships, business settings, or public speaking, the ability to tell a compelling story can draw others in, capture their attention, and make our message memorable. Good storytelling taps into universal themes and emotions, helping others see themselves in our narrative. It encourages empathy, fosters connection, and sparks curiosity. Whether you're sharing a personal anecdote or illustrating a point in a professional setting, storytelling allows you to communicate in a way that is both powerful and impactful. A well-told story can cut through barriers, break down resistance, and create a shared understanding that transcends mere words. Finally, effective communication requires a deep understanding of cultural sensitivity. We live in a world that is increasingly interconnected, with people from diverse backgrounds, experiences, and worldviews coming together. What may be acceptable or normal in one culture can be perceived as offensive or inappropriate in another. This is why it's essential to approach communication with an awareness of cultural differences and to respect the values, beliefs, and customs of others. Cultural sensitivity involves being open-minded, curious, and willing to learn from others. It means recognizing that different people may interpret words, actions, and nonverbal cues in different ways. It requires us to avoid making assumptions based on our own experiences, and instead seek to understand the unique perspectives of those we interact with. By cultivating cultural sensitivity, we ensure that our communication is inclusive, respectful, and effective in a globalized world. Communication is not just an exchange of information. It is the bridge that connects us to one another, allowing us to share our experiences, ideas, and emotions. Mastering the art of communication requires more than just technical skills. It demands emotional intelligence, empathy, patience, and cultural awareness. It requires the willingness to listen, the courage to speak authentically, and the ability to navigate complex emotions and dynamics. By embracing these principles and continuously refining our communication skills, we can build stronger relationships, resolve conflicts with grace, and foster understanding in an ever-changing world. Communication, while central to human existence, is often taken for granted. We engage in conversations daily, exchanging words without much thought to the intricacies of how we convey meaning. However, when we dive deeper into communication, we uncover a multitude of elements that shape the effectiveness of our interactions. One of the most overlooked yet profoundly impactful aspects of communication is the role of assumptions. We all carry assumptions, unspoken beliefs, and expectations into every conversation. These assumptions often dictate how we interpret the words of others, how we respond, and how we behave in a given situation. Assumptions can act as invisible filters through which we process information. The danger lies in the fact that many of these assumptions are formed unconsciously, and they can distort our understanding of what is truly being communicated. For instance, when we assume that someone is upset based on their tone of voice or body language, we may misinterpret their feelings. Similarly, assuming that someone agrees with us simply because they are silent may lead to miscommunication. Unchecked assumptions can cause us to make snap judgments, leading to misunderstandings or missed opportunities for connection. A key element of effective communication, therefore, is the ability to question our assumptions, to approach conversations with an open mind and a willingness to understand the other person's perspective. One of the best ways to combat the negative effects of assumptions is through clarification. When we are unsure about something, whether it's the meaning of a statement, the emotion behind a tone, or the intent behind an action, it's essential to ask questions to ensure that we are interpreting things correctly. Clarification is a tool that allows us to move beyond surface-level understanding and engage with the conversation more deeply. It helps prevent us from making assumptions based on incomplete information and allows us to arrive at a shared understanding. Nonverbal communication, as previously discussed, also plays a significant role in shaping our interactions. While we may focus on the words we speak, our body language, facial expressions, and tone often carry more weight than the actual content of our message. In fact, research suggests that up to 93% of communication is nonverbal. This means that even if we are saying the right words, we may be sending conflicting messages through our physical cues. For example, when someone says, "I'm fine," but their body is tense, their shoulders are hunched, and their eyes are downcast, the message may not be received as intended. The incongruence between their words and body language creates a disconnect, which can leave the listener feeling confused or uncertain. Being mindful how our nonverbal cues align with our words is critical for ensuring that our message is clear and authentic. Effective communication also requires awareness of the power dynamics at play in any conversation. In certain relationships or settings, there may be an imbalance of power that shapes how communication unfolds. For example, in a workplace or educational environment, a teacher, manager, or authority figure may hold more power than students or employees they interact with. This power dynamic can influence how comfortable the other party feels in expressing themselves, potentially leading to misunderstandings or even suppressing open dialogue. Recognizing these dynamics and adjusting our communication style accordingly is important for creating an environment of trust and mutual respect. Those in positions of power can foster more open communication by actively listening, showing empathy, and encouraging feedback. On the other hand, those in more subordinate positions can work to find their voice by being assertive and seeking clarity when needed, knowing that their perspective is valuable. Creating a space where all voices are heard, regardless of power differences, ensures that communication remains genuine and effective. Another crucial aspect of communication is adaptability. Each conversation is unique, and the way we communicate with one person may not be the same as how we communicate with another. Our tone, language, and approach may need to change based on the context, the relationship, and the subject matter. For instance, the communication style we use with a close friend will differ from how we interact with a colleague or a family member. Adapting our communication to fit the situation allows us to connect more effectively with others, ensuring that we are meeting them where they are emotionally, socially, and intellectually. Being adaptable doesn't mean changing who we are or pretending to be someone we're not. Rather, it means being flexible in our approach and recognizing that the way we communicate should be tailored to the circumstances. Context is key, whether at a formal business meeting or a casual conversation with a friend. The way we convey our message should take into account the setting, the other person's needs, and the desired outcome of the conversation. In many cases, conflict arises from a lack of clear communication. When we fail to express our needs, expectations, or concerns clearly, misunderstandings can quickly spiral into larger issues. Conflict, while uncomfortable, is a natural part of human interaction, and it can be an opportunity for growth if managed effectively. It's essential, however, to approach conflict with an open mind and a willingness to listen. When we engage in conflict, it's important to avoid becoming defensive or combative. Instead, we should focus on listening to the other person's perspective and expressing our own in a calm, respectful manner, using I statements such as, "I feel upset when," rather than "you always make me feel," can help to prevent the other person from feeling attacked and create a more productive space for dialogue. Effective conflict resolution involves staying focused on the issue at hand, avoiding personal attacks, and working together to find a solution that benefits both parties. Empathy, as we've explored, is an essential component of communication. It is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Empathy allows us to connect on a deeper level, offering the other person a sense of being heard, seen, and validated. In any conversation, when we approach the other person with empathy, we create a foundation of trust and respect. We show that we are not just interested in speaking, but also in understanding. However, empathy does not mean agreeing with everything the other person says or feels. It means recognizing and honoring their perspective, even if it differs from our own. Respecting differing viewpoints and acknowledging the emotions behind them fosters mutual understanding and helps prevent unnecessary conflict. In summary, effective communication is not simply about speaking or listening. It's about creating understanding, building trust, and fostering connection. It requires an awareness of our own assumptions, an understanding of nonverbal cues, a recognition of power dynamics, and an ability to adapt our style to different situations. Communication is an ongoing process that requires practice, mindfulness, and a commitment to improving our relationships with others. Through empathy, adaptability, and clarity, we can ensure that our communication is meaningful, impactful, and ultimately transformative. Every conversation, every exchange of words, carries with it the potential to either deepen understanding or create division. Often, the difference between these outcomes lies not just in the words we speak, but in the way we frame our communication. How we approach a conversation, the context we provide, and the way we structure our thoughts and emotions are crucial factors in shaping the effectiveness of our interactions. One of the most valuable tools in communication is the ability to reframe a conversation, to change its context or perspective in order to shift the tone, the emotional charge, or the meaning of the interaction. Reframing is particularly important when dealing with difficult conversations or conflict situations. It's easy to get stuck in a cycle of defensiveness or misunderstanding when conversations become emotionally charged. However, by reframing the way we approach the issue, we can open up new avenues for understanding and problem solving. Reframing allows us to step outside of our immediate reactions and see the conversation from a broader perspective. Instead of focusing solely on the problem, we can shift our focus toward solutions or shared goals. For example, consider a situation where two colleagues are arguing about a project deadline. One may feel that the deadline is unrealistic, while the other is frustrated by the delay and wants to move forward. Without reframing, this conversation could evolve into a back and forth of blame and frustration. But by reframing the conversation, both individuals can focus on finding a mutual goal, completing the project successfully and on time, in a way that respects everyone's workload. Instead of framing the situation as a battle over deadlines, reframing the conversation allows both parties to see it as a shared challenge, opening the door for collaboration and creative problem solving. Language choices also play a significant role in how we communicate. The words we select in any conversation carry more weight than we might realize. Even simple shift in language can alter the tone and meaning of our message. For instance, using positive or constructive language can help avoid triggering defensiveness or negative reactions in the listener. Instead of saying, "You never follow through on your promises," one could say, "I've noticed that sometimes there's difficulty meeting deadlines, and I'd love to explore how we can improve on this together." By framing the situation with a focus on collaboration and improvement rather than criticism, the conversation remains open, positive, and solution-oriented. Moreover, communication is not just about conveying information or expressing ideas. It is equally about building relationships. The bonds we form with others are largely shaped by how we communicate, whether through words, actions, or nonverbal cues. Relationships are built on trust, mutual respect, and understanding, and these elements are cultivated through consistent, thoughtful communication. One of the core aspects of relationship-building communication is emotional support. In any meaningful relationship, there are times when the other person needs not just information, but emotional validation. This can take many forms, whether offering a comforting word, a listening ear, or simply being present. Offering emotional support doesn't always mean solving a problem. Often, it simply means acknowledging the other person's feelings and offering comfort or empathy. This kind of communication fosters a deeper connection and strengthens the bond between individuals. Being present in a conversation is another key aspect of building relationships through communication. It's easy to get distracted, especially in the fast-paced world we live in. However, when we are truly present with someone, we show them that they matter. This means putting away distractions, making eye contact, and focusing entirely on the person in front of us. Being present communicates respect, care, and attentiveness. It allows for deeper connections and more meaningful interactions. In this way, the very act of listening, being present, becomes one of the most powerful tools for building trust and intimacy in relationships. Another essential communication skill in relationships is the art of compromise. Relationships, whether personal or professional, require give and take. There will always be moments of disagreement, moments when our needs or desires conflict with those of others. The ability to communicate and find middle ground is crucial in these moments. Compromise doesn't mean giving up our own needs or values. Rather, it's about understanding the other person's perspective and finding ways to meet each other's needs without sacrificing what is important to us. Compromise also involves patience, recognizing that communication is not always instantaneous, and understanding often takes time. There may be situations where we don't immediately agree with the other person or fully understand their viewpoint. In these cases, it's important to remain patient, continue the conversation, and allow time for mutual understanding to develop. Communication is not always a quick fix. Sometimes it's a slow, evolving process of learning, adapting, and growing together. At times, the challenges in communication arise not from misunderstanding, but from resistance to change. Change, whether it's in our personal beliefs, our work habits, or our relationships, can be difficult to embrace. We may hold on to old patterns of communication that no longer serve us, or resist conversations that challenge our existing worldview. In these moments, it's important to recognize that growth often comes from discomfort. Challenging our old ways of communicating or thinking can be uncomfortable, but it is also the key to personal and relational development. By embracing discomfort, we open ourselves to new perspectives, greater empathy, and more effective communication. In all forms of communication, authenticity is a critical factor. To truly connect with others, we must be genuine in our interactions. This means expressing ourselves honestly, being vulnerable when necessary, and not hiding behind facades or masks. Authentic communication fosters trust and deepens connections. It allows us to be seen and understood for who we truly are, rather than for who we think we should be. Authenticity encourages openness, which in turn nurtures mutual respect and understanding. Communication is an ongoing process, not a static skill. It is a dynamic, evolving exchange that requires constant attention, practice, and reflection. As we continue to communicate with others, we learn more about ourselves and about the people we interact with. We refine our skills, adjust our strategies, and adapt to the changing needs of our relationships. In this way, communication is not just about conveying information. It is about building connections, strengthening relationships, and growing together. By honing our communication skills, we enhance our ability to understand, empathize, and collaborate, ultimately creating richer, more meaningful connections in all areas of our lives. Communication is not merely about sharing words, but about the subtle dance of connection, where the spoken and unspoken intertwine. It's about creating spaces in which understanding, collaboration, and growth can unfold. One of the most profound aspects of communication lies in creating a safe environment for both ourselves and others to express, explore, and share. This safe space, or what we might call psychological safety, plays a crucial role in fostering open and honest communication, whether in personal relationships, work settings, or even casual conversations. Psychological safety is built on trust, the trust that no matter what we share or how vulnerable we become, we will not be judged, ridiculed, or belittled. It's the belief that our ideas, emotions, and experiences are valued and respected. Without this sense of safety, communication falters. We become guarded, hesitant to speak our truths, fearful of the consequences. This is especially true in environments where power imbalances exist, such as between managers and employees, or in situations where cultural differences create divides. Building psychological safety requires active listening and non-judgmental responses. When someone shares their thoughts or emotions, especially difficult ones, it's vital to listen not with the intent to respond or offer solutions, but to understand. Listening with empathy, without interrupting, offering advice, or immediately seeking a fix, is one of the most powerful ways we can create a safe space for others. When we respond from a place of empathy, acknowledging the other person's experience and emotions, we show that their vulnerability is respected, which encourages further openness. Nonverbal communication also plays a crucial role in creating psychological safety. Our body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice are often the first indicators of how safe someone feels. When we are present, engaged, and supportive through our physical cues, we communicate that the other person's words matter. On the flip side, crossed arms, lack of eye contact, or a dismissive tone can send the opposite message, that the speaker is not valued or heard. Small gestures of kindness and attentiveness can go a long way in fostering a trusting, open dialogue. There's another aspect of communication that is often overlooked, the ability to acknowledge and validate. Validation is a crucial part of communication because it signals to the speaker that their emotions, thoughts, or concerns are legitimate and worthy of attention. In many instances, simply acknowledging someone's feelings can transform a conversation. For example, when someone expresses frustration, instead of dismissing or minimizing their feelings, offering a simple validation like, "I can see why that would be frustrating," can create a deeper connection and open the door to further dialogue. This form of recognition allows the other person to feel understood, which is essential for building trust and rapport. Emotional validation, however, is not the same as agreeing with everything someone says. We do not always need to agree with someone to validate their experience. Validation is about acknowledging the emotional reality of another person, regardless of whether their perspective aligns with ours. It's about seeing their feelings and experiences as valid, not because they fit our worldview, but because they are real to them. This level of empathy and respect strengthens communication by promoting openness and acceptance. It's also important to remember that communication is not always about words. Silence can be a powerful communicator in its own right. Silence doesn't necessarily imply discomfort or awkwardness. In fact, when used thoughtfully, silence can be an act of profound communication. It allows for reflection, provides space for the other person to gather their thoughts, and sometimes communicates more than words could. When someone is speaking about something difficult, offering a moment of silence can give them time to process their feelings or thoughts without pressure. It can also signal to them that we are fully present, engaged, and patient. In any interaction, being present mentally, emotionally, and physically is essential. When we are distracted, checking our phones, or mentally planning what we're going to say next, we miss crucial moments of connection. True presence in communication means clearing away distractions, focusing our full attention on the person in front of us, and responding with sincerity. Presence speaks to the other person's worth and allows for deeper understanding and connection. Another critical concept in effective communication is the ability to own our part in a conversation. Many misunderstandings and conflict arise because we are not taking responsibility for how we contribute to the communication process. We often blame others for miscommunications or misunderstandings, but every interaction is a two-way street. To foster healthy communication, we must be willing to look at our own words, actions, and intentions and consider how they might have impacted the conversation. Self-awareness in communication is essential for growth. It allows us to adjust and refine how we engage with others. Furthermore, vulnerability plays a pivotal role in deepening communication. To truly connect with another person, we must be willing to expose our true selves. Vulnerability is not weakness, as it's often perceived, but strength, and experiences are valued and respected. Without this sense of safety, communication falters. We become guarded, hesitant to speak our truths, fearful of the consequences. This is especially true in environments where power imbalances exist, such as between managers and employees, or in situations where cultural differences create divides. Building psychological safety requires active listening and non-judgmental responses. When someone shares their thoughts or emotions, especially difficult ones, it's vital to listen not with the intent to respond or offer solutions, but to understand. Listening with empathy, without interrupting, offering advice, or immediately seeking to fix, is one of the most powerful ways we can create a safe space for others. When we respond from a place of empathy, acknowledging the other person's experience and emotions, we show that their vulnerability is respected, which encourages further openness. Nonverbal communication also plays a crucial role in creating psychological safety. Our body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice are often the first indicators of how safe someone feels. When we are present, engaged, and supportive through our physical cues, we communicate that the other person's words matter. On the flip side, crossed arms, lack of eye contact, or a dismissive tone can send the opposite message, that the speaker is not valued or heard. Small gestures of kindness and attentiveness can go a long way in fostering a trusting, open dialogue. There's another aspect of communication that is often overlooked, the ability to acknowledge and validate. Validation is a crucial part of communication because it signals to the speaker that their emotions, thoughts, or concerns are legitimate and worthy of attention. In many instances, simply acknowledging someone's feelings can transform a conversation. For example, when someone expresses frustration, instead of dismissing or minimizing their feelings, offering a simple validation like, "I can see why that would be frustrating," can create a deeper connection and open the door to further dialogue. This form of recognition allows the other person to feel understood, which is essential for building trust and rapport. Emotional validation, however, is not the same as agreeing with everything someone says. We do not always need to agree with someone to validate their experience. Validation is about acknowledging the emotional reality of another person, regardless of whether their perspective aligns with ours. It's about seeing their feelings and experiences as valid, not because they fit our worldview, but because they are real to them. This level of empathy and respect strengthens communication by promoting openness and acceptance. It's also important to remember that communication is not always about words. Silence can be a powerful communicator in its own right. Silence doesn't necessarily imply discomfort or awkwardness. In fact, when used thoughtfully, silence can be an act of profound communication. It allows for reflection, provides space for the other person to gather their thoughts, and sometimes communicates more than words could. When someone is speaking about something difficult, offering a moment of silence can give them time to process their feelings or thoughts without pressure. It can also signal to them that we are fully present, engaged, and patient. In any interaction, being present mentally, emotionally, and physically is essential. When we're distracted, checking our phones, or mentally planning what we're going to say next, we miss crucial moments of connection. True presence in communication means clearing away distractions, focusing our full attention on the person in front of us, and responding with sincerity. Presence speaks to the other person's worth and allows for deeper understanding and connection. Another critical concept in effective communication is the ability to own our part in a conversation. Many misunderstandings and conflict arise because we are not taking responsibility for how we contribute to the communication process. We often blame others for miscommunications or misunderstandings, but every interaction is a two-way street. To foster healthy communication, we must be willing to look at our own words, actions, and intentions and consider how they might have impacted the conversation. Self-awareness in communication is essential for growth. It allows us to adjust and refine how we engage with others. Furthermore, vulnerability plays a pivotal role in deepening communication. To truly connect with another person, we must be willing to expose our true selves. Vulnerability is not weakness, as it's often perceived, but strength. It's the courage to show up as we are without pretense or facade. Whether we are admitting our mistakes, expressing our needs, or sharing our fears, vulnerability invites others to do the same. It breaks down barriers, allowing us to move past surface-level interactions and into meaningful, authentic exchanges. In relationships, whether personal or professional, vulnerability is often the foundation of trust. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we give others permission to do the same. The result is an environment where open, honest communication can flourish. This creates not only stronger relationships, but also a greater sense of mutual understanding and respect. As we continue to evolve in our communication skills, resilience becomes a vital quality to cultivate. Communication can be challenging, and not every conversation will go as planned. Sometimes words can be misunderstood, emotions can run high, and disagreements can occur. But resilience in communication means not giving up on the process. It's about being able to repair misunderstandings, learn from mistakes, and keep striving to improve how we connect with others. It's the ability to stay open and willing to communicate even when it feels difficult or uncomfortable. Ultimately, communication is a lifelong practice, one that requires constant reflection, adaptation, and growth. Clarity, empathy, patience, presence, and vulnerability are the pillars that support effective communication, and by embracing these qualities, we can begin to foster more meaningful connections with others. As we continue to navigate the complexities of human interaction, we begin to see that communication is not just about the exchange of information. It is the very fabric that binds us together, shaping our relationships and our understanding of one another. Through thoughtful and intentional communication, we create a space where connection, understanding, and mutual respect can thrive. Communication, as we've explored, is a powerful force that shapes relationships, resolves conflicts, and drives collaboration. However, it's not always smooth sailing. Even the most well-intentioned conversations can falter, misfire, or become misinterpreted. This is where the concept of barriers to communication becomes essential to understand. Barriers, whether they are physical, psychological, or emotional, can distort or block the message we intend to convey. Recognizing and overcoming these barriers is crucial in becoming an effective communicator. Physical barriers to communication can be easily overlooked but have a significant impact. These barriers may include environmental factors, such as noise, distractions, poor acoustics, or even physical distance. Imagine trying to have a conversation in a crowded, noisy environment where you can barely hear the other person. It's clear that communication is compromised and the message becomes muddled. Similarly, barriers such as poor lighting, insufficient seating arrangements, or even physical barriers like desks or walls can create obstacles to effective communication. These physical barriers can make it difficult to hear, see, or even feel connected to the other person. In some cases, virtual communication via email or video calls can present its own set of challenges, such as technical difficulties, lag, or low-quality audio and video that hinder the flow of conversation. On the flip side, psychological barriers are often much more insidious. These barriers arise from internal factors, such as prejudices, assumptions, stereotypes, or negative emotions that interfere with our ability to truly listen or understand another person. For instance, if we approach a conversation with preconceived notions about someone, based on their appearance, background, or previous interactions, we might dismiss what they say without truly engaging with their message. Biases shape how we listen and interpret words, making it harder to see things from the other person's point of view. One of the most significant psychological barriers to communication is defensiveness. When we feel threatened, whether by criticism, disagreement, or rejection, our instinct may be to defend ourselves, often at the expense of truly listening to the other person. In these situations, we become focused on justifying our actions or beliefs rather than understanding the other person's perspective. Defensiveness can escalate conflicts and prevent resolution because it turns a conversation into a battle of egos rather than a dialogue of understanding. To overcome defensiveness, we must approach conversations with an open mind, suspending judgment and embracing the possibility that the other person's perspective might have value, even if it challenges our own. Another psychological barrier is selective listening. Often, we listen to only parts of a conversation that confirm our existing beliefs or opinions. We might tune out information that doesn't align with what we want to hear or what we already think to be true. This selective hearing limits our understanding and prevents us from engaging in a full, open exchange. To break free from selective listening, we must practice active listening, where we commit ourselves to hearing the entire message, both what is said and what is left unsaid. Emotional barriers can also play a significant role in hindering effective communication. Strong emotions, such as anger, fear, sadness, or stress, can cloud our ability to listen or respond clearly. When we are emotionally charged, our ability to think rationally and engage with the other person's message diminishes. For example, during an argument, we may be so focused on how we feel about the situation that we fail to understand the emotions driving the other person's words. These emotional barriers can create walls between people, making it hard to connect on a deeper level. Overcoming emotional barriers requires emotional self-regulation, the ability to manage our emotions in real time. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings. Rather, it's about acknowledging them, understanding their source, and choosing how to respond in a way that facilitates productive communication. By taking a step back, breathing deeply, and maintaining composure, we can ensure that our emotions do not overpower the conversation. Recognizing emotional triggers, whether they stem from personal insecurities, past experiences, or current stress, allows us to communicate more thoughtfully and respond with greater clarity. Another significant emotional barrier is lack of trust. Trust is the foundation of all healthy communication, and without it, meaningful exchanges become difficult. When trust is absent, individuals may be guarded, reluctant to share, or suspicious of the other person's motives. Building trust takes time and consistent effort, but is essential for fostering open, honest communication. Without trust, even the most skilled communicator will struggle to connect with others in a meaningful way. Building trust requires being consistent, transparent, and respectful in all interactions and demonstrating reliability over time. Cultural barriers are also important to consider in today's interconnected world. We often encounter people from diverse cultural backgrounds, each with their own norms, values, and communication styles. What is considered polite or respectful in one culture may be perceived as rude or inappropriate in another. Cultural differences in communication styles, such as directness versus indirectness, verbal versus nonverbal emphasis, and attitudes towards silence, can lead to misunderstandings if we are unaware of these nuances. For instance, in some cultures, making direct eye contact is seen as a sign of respect, while in others, it may be interpreted as aggressive or challenging. Overcoming cultural barriers requires cultural competence, the ability to recognize, respect, and adapt to the cultural differences of those we communicate with. This involves being open to learning about different cultures, recognizing our own biases, and adapting our communication style accordingly. In cross-cultural communication, it's essential to be patient, humble, and willing to ask questions to better understand the other person's perspective. By embracing cultural diversity, we enrich our communication and create stronger, more inclusive relationships. Language barriers are another common communication hurdle, particularly in multicultural or multilingual settings. Even when we speak the same language, regional dialects, jargon, or specialized vocabulary can create obstacles. Misunderstandings can easily arise if the speaker's words are not clear or if the listener is unfamiliar with the terms being used. In such cases, it's crucial to clarify meaning, ask for explanations, and avoid assuming that everyone has the same understanding of certain words or phrases. Using simple, clear language and confirming understanding at regular intervals can help bridge language gaps and ensure effective communication. Finally, physical barriers, such as fatigue, illness, or technological issues, can hinder communication. When we are physically drained or unwell, our ability to engage in thoughtful conversation diminishes. Similarly, technical issues during virtual communication, such as poor internet connections or malfunctioning equipment, can disrupt the flow of the conversation. While we cannot always control these external factors, we can work to minimize their impact by ensuring that we are well-rested, focused, and prepared for discussions. In virtual settings, checking technology beforehand and ensuring proper communication tools are in place can help reduce technical barriers. The key to overcoming these barriers is awareness, being conscious of the factors that may influence communication, and taking proactive steps to address them. Whether we are dealing with physical distractions, psychological blocks, emotional triggers, or cultural differences, the goal is to approach every conversation with mindfulness, patience, and flexibility. Communication is a dynamic, complex process, but by recognizing and addressing the barriers that exist, we can ensure that our messages are received as intended and that our relationships are strengthened through clear, open, and honest dialogue. As we continue to develop our communication skills, we learn not only to convey information more effectively, but also to create an environment in which others feel safe, heard, and understood. Through awareness, empathy, and a willingness to adapt, we break down the barriers that separate us and create space for meaningful connection and mutual growth. As we continue to refine our communication skills, one of the most powerful tools at our disposal is the art of persuasion. Persuasion is not just about convincing others to see things your way. It is about aligning your message with the needs, values, and perspectives of the people you are communicating with. Persuasion in communication is about building trust, creating resonance, and making sure that your words inspire action, understanding, or agreement. It's not manipulation, but an exchange that encourages others to think differently or consider new possibilities, rooted in mutual respect and understanding. One of the fundamental principles of persuasion is understanding the audience. Every conversation or presentation is an opportunity to speak to the hearts and minds of the people you are engaging with. Whether you're trying to persuade someone in a business meeting, encourage a friend to take action, or even persuade a group of people on social issues, it is essential to first understand their perspective, concerns, and values. People are more likely to be persuaded when they feel that their needs and opinions are taken into account. This requires empathy, the ability to step into the shoes of others and see the world from their point of view. Empathy allows us to tailor our message in a way that speaks directly to the listener's experiences, values, and emotions. For instance, if you are trying to persuade someone to change their behavior, understanding their motivations and fears will help you address those underlying drivers rather than just focusing on the surface-level issue. The more attuned you are to the person or group you are communicating with, the more likely you are to craft a message that resonates and leads to positive results. Another key element in persuasive communication is credibility. People are more likely to be persuaded by someone they trust. This trust is built on a foundation of honesty, integrity, and consistency. If your audience feels that you are genuine, knowledgeable, and reliable, they will be more open to your ideas and proposals. Trustworthiness is established through both verbal and nonverbal cues. Your tone of voice, body language, and the way you present yourself all contribute to your credibility. If you speak confidently but are inconsistent or contradict yourself, your audience will pick up on it and may begin to doubt your sincerity. To be persuasive, you must align your actions with your words, ensuring that your behavior matches the message you are conveying. Equally important is the role of emotional appeal in persuasion. Emotional barriers can also play a significant role in hindering effective communication. Strong emotions, such as anger, fear, sadness, or stress, can cloud our ability to listen or respond clearly. When we are emotionally charged, our ability to think rationally and engage with the other person's message diminishes. For example, during an argument, we may be so focused on how we feel about the situation that we fail to understand the emotions driving the other person's words. These emotional barriers can create walls between people, making it hard to connect on a deeper level. Overcoming emotional barriers requires emotional self-regulation, the ability to manage our emotions in real time. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings. Rather, it's about acknowledging them, understanding their source, and choosing how to respond in a way that facilitates productive communication. By taking a step back, breathing deeply, and maintaining composure, we can ensure that our emotions do not overpower the conversation. Recognizing emotional triggers, whether they stem from personal insecurities, past experiences, or current stress, allows us to communicate more thoughtfully and respond with greater clarity. Another significant emotional barrier is lack of trust. Trust is a foundation of all healthy communication, and without it, meaningful exchanges become difficult. When trust is absent, individuals may be guarded, reluctant to share, or suspicious of the other person's motives. Building trust takes time and consistent effort, but it is essential for fostering open, honest communication. Without trust, even the most skilled communicator will struggle to connect with others in a meaningful way. Building trust requires being consistent, transparent, and respectful in all interactions, and demonstrating reliability over time. Cultural barriers are also important to consider in today's interconnected world. We often encounter people from diverse cultural backgrounds, each with their own norms, values, and communication styles. What is considered polite or respectful in one culture may be perceived as rude or inappropriate in another. Cultural differences in communication styles, such as directness versus indirectness, verbal versus nonverbal emphasis, and attitudes towards silence, can lead to misunderstandings if we are unaware of these nuances. For instance, in some cultures, making direct eye contact is seen as a sign of respect, while in others, it may be interpreted as aggressive or challenging. Overcoming cultural barriers requires cultural competence, the ability to recognize, respect, and adapt to the cultural differences of those we communicate with. This involves being open to learning about different cultures, recognizing our own biases, and adapting our communication style accordingly. In cross-cultural communication, it's essential to be patient, humble, and willing to ask questions to better understand the other person's perspective. By embracing cultural diversity, we enrich our communication and create stronger, more inclusive relationships. Language barriers are another common communication hurdle, particularly in multicultural or multilingual settings. Even when we speak the same language, regional dialects, jargon, or specialized vocabulary can create obstacles. Misunderstandings can easily arise if the speaker's words are not clear or if the listener is unfamiliar with the terms being used. In such cases, it's crucial to clarify meaning, ask for explanations, and avoid assuming that everyone has the same understanding of certain words or phrases. Using simple, clear language and confirming understanding at regular intervals can help bridge language gaps and ensure effective communication. Finally, physical barriers, such as fatigue, illness, or technological issues, can hinder communication. When we are physically drained or unwell, our ability to engage in thoughtful conversation diminishes. Similarly, technical issues during virtual communication, such as poor internet connections or malfunctioning equipment, can disrupt the flow of the conversation. While we cannot always control these external factors, we can work to minimize their impact by ensuring that we are well-rested, focused, and prepared for discussions. In virtual settings, checking technology beforehand and ensuring proper communication tools are in place can help reduce technical barriers. The key to overcoming these barriers is awareness, being conscious of the factors that may influence communication, and taking proactive steps to address them. Whether we are dealing with physical distractions, psychological blocks, emotional triggers, or cultural differences, the goal is to approach every conversation with mindfulness, patience, and flexibility. Communication is a dynamic, complex process, but by recognizing and addressing the barriers that exist, we can ensure that our messages are received as intended and that our relationships are strengthened through clear, open, and honest dialogue. As we continue to develop our communication skills, we learn not only to convey information more effectively, but also to create an environment in which others feel safe, heard, and understood. Through awareness, empathy, and a willingness to adapt, we break down the barriers that separate us and create space for meaningful connection and mutual growth. People involved, as each person becomes entrenched in their own position. The goal of conflict resolution is not to win, but to understand and resolve the issue in a way that meets everyone's needs. A collaborative approach to conflict encourages open dialogue, where both parties feel heard and respected. In conflict resolution, active listening plays a central role. Listening attentively allows us to fully understand the other person's perspective and underlying needs. Often, in conflicts, the focus tends to be on the surface-level issues. What was said, who was wrong, what happened. However, the true essence of conflict lies in understanding the emotions and values that are being expressed. When we listen actively, we open ourselves to seeing the issue from the other person's point of view. This helps defuse tension and creates an environment where mutual understanding can flourish. Instead of reacting impulsively to the words being said, active listening encourages us to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully. Another essential component of conflict resolution is empathy. The ability to empathize with the other person's feelings and perspective is crucial in resolving conflict. Empathy allows us to connect with a person on an emotional level and shows them that we are not just interested in winning the argument, but in understanding the emotional experience behind their words. Empathy involves acknowledging the other person's feelings without judgment or defensiveness. For example, instead of saying, "You shouldn't feel that way," we can say, "I can see how that would make you feel upset." This simple statement validates the other person's emotional experience, which can reduce defensiveness and create a more productive conversation. However, it's important to remember that empathy does not mean we have to agree with the other person. Empathy is not about adopting their perspective entirely, but rather understanding where they're coming from and respecting their emotional truth. By showing empathy, we demonstrate that we value the other person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences, which paves the way for healthier and more constructive conversations. Emotional regulation is also critical when navigating conflict. Conflicts often trigger strong emotions, and these emotions can cloud our judgment and escalate the situation. When we allow anger, frustration, or hurt to guide our responses, we risk saying things we don't mean and damaging the relationship further. Emotional regulation is the ability to recognize our emotions and manage them in a way that fosters a productive, calm dialogue. It's about taking a moment to breathe, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. When we regulate our emotions, we create space for the other person to express themselves, and we can approach the conversation with a clearer mind and a more open heart. In addition to emotional regulation, assertiveness is a vital skill in conflict resolution. Assertiveness allows us to express our own needs, thoughts, and feelings in a direct and respectful manner, without being passive or aggressive. Often, people in conflict avoid confrontation altogether, allowing their feelings to build up and fester. On the other hand, some people become overly aggressive, trying to dominate the conversation or dismiss the other person's point of view. Assertiveness strikes a balance between these extremes. It involves expressing ourselves clearly and respectfully, without belittling or disregarding the other person's perspective. By being assertive, we not only communicate our needs, but also model respectful communication for the other person. Finding common ground is another crucial aspect of conflict resolution. In any disagreement, there are often areas of agreement, shared values, goals, or concerns. Focusing on these areas of alignment helps shift the conversation from a debate to a collaboration. When both parties recognize that they are working toward a common goal, whether it's resolving the issue at hand or preserving the relationship, it creates a sense of unity that can break through the barriers of conflict. Asking questions like, what do we both want from this conversation? Or how can we both benefit from the situation? helps refocus the conversation on shared interests, creating a pathway toward resolution. Once both parties have had the opportunity to express their feelings and concerns, problem solving becomes the next step in conflict resolution. Problem solving requires creativity, collaboration, and compromise. It's about finding a solution that respects both parties' needs and addresses the underlying issue. Instead of clinging to our own position, we must be open to new ideas and solutions that may not have been initially considered. This may require flexibility and willingness to make compromises. Conflict resolution is often not about getting exactly what we want, but about finding a middle ground where both parties feel heard, respected, and understood. Apologizing is also a powerful tool in resolving conflict, especially when we recognize that we have made a mistake or hurt someone else. A genuine apology, acknowledging the impact of our actions, taking responsibility, and expressing remorse, can go a long way in mending relationships. However, it's important to note that an apology should be sincere and specific. A vague or insincere apology can deepen the hurt and undermine the healing process. By offering a genuine apology, we show the other person that we value the relationship and are committed to making things right. In some cases, conflict may not be fully resolved in a single conversation. Sometimes it takes time, reflection, and continued dialogue to reach a resolution. Patience is crucial in these situations. Conflicts can be complex, and the path to resolution may not always be straightforward. However, by remaining patient and committed to the process, we increase the chances of finding a lasting solution. Forgiveness also plays a significant role in conflict resolution. While it's not always easy, forgiveness allows us to let go of resentment and move forward. Holding on to anger or grudges keeps us tied to the past, preventing us from building stronger relationships and fostering understanding. Forgiveness is not about excusing the other person's actions, but about freeing ourselves from the emotional weight of the conflict. By forgiving, we create space for healing, growth, and reconciliation. Ultimately, conflict is an opportunity for growth, both personally and relationally. How we navigate conflict determines not only the outcome of the disagreement, but the strength of our connection with others. When approached with empathy, respect, patience, and a willingness to collaborate, conflict can lead to deeper understanding, stronger relationships, and greater communication. Through conflict resolution, we learn that disagreement is not the end of a relationship, but rather a chance to build a more resilient and communicative bond. As we delve further into complexities of communication, one essential aspect that we must address is the impact of technology on how we interact with one another. In an age where digital communication is ubiquitous, understanding how technology shapes the way we communicate has become increasingly important. Technology has revolutionized the way we connect, but it also presents unique challenges and potential barriers that we must navigate. One of the most prominent effects of technology on communication is the rise of digital communication platforms, email, text messaging, social media, and video conferencing. These platforms have made it easier than ever to stay in touch with others, regardless of distance or time zone. While they offer convenience and instant access to communication, they also come with certain limitations. For example, when communicating through text or email, we lose the nonverbal cues, such as facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice, that are essential to understanding the full meaning behind a message. This can often lead to misinterpretation, as written words alone may not accurately convey the speaker's intent or emotional state. The absence of these nonverbal cues in digital communication can lead to a phenomenon known as a communication gap, where the lack of visual or vocal context makes it difficult for both parties to fully understand each other. This can result in miscommunications, misunderstandings, or even unnecessary conflict. For instance, a simple message like, "I'm fine," could be interpreted in multiple ways, whether the person is genuinely fine, upset, or sarcastic, based solely on the text, without the added context of voice tone or facial expression. To combat this, we must be mindful of how we communicate in these digital spaces, using additional elements like emojis, punctuation, and carefully chosen language to provide clarity and context to our messages. Another challenge posed by digital communication is a reduction of face-to-face interaction. While technology allows us to maintain long-distance relationships, it can also create a sense of distance in relationships that are geographically close. In-person communication fosters a deeper level of connection as it allows for more nuanced interactions and immediate feedback. Nonverbal signals, such as eye contact, posture, and the physical presence of another person, all contribute to the depth of understanding in a conversation. The absence of these elements in digital communication can create a more superficial exchange, where the emotional and relational aspects of the conversation may be lost. In work settings, the reliance on email, messaging platforms, and video calls can sometimes contribute to miscommunication or a lack of engagement. The tone of an email can often be misunderstood, and without the personal connection of being in the same room, it can be harder to establish rapport or gauge the emotions of the other person. Video conferencing has become an essential tool for maintaining communication in the workplace, especially in remote or hybrid work environments. However, even video calls can sometimes feel disconnected due to technical issues, glitches, or distractions in the environment. While these tools help maintain communication, they can't fully replicate the experience of being physically present with someone, which can limit the effectiveness of the conversation. Despite these challenges, technology also has the potential to enhance our communication in powerful ways. The instantaneous nature of digital communication allows us to share ideas and information quickly and efficiently. We can collaborate with colleagues around the world, engage in real-time discussions, and stay connected to loved ones even across great distances. Social media platforms, in particular, allow us to express our thoughts, connect with people who share our interests, and even engage in global conversations on important social, political, and cultural issues. These platforms have given a voice to those who may have previously been marginalized, allowing for more diverse perspectives to be heard and understood. However, the very same features that make social media and digital platforms so powerful also introduce new challenges. Over-reliance on digital communication can lead to a decrease in face-to-face interactions, contributing to feelings of isolation and detachment. People may feel connected in a virtual sense, but disconnected in a meaningful, personal way. This phenomenon is often referred to as social media fatigue, where the constant stream of notifications, posts, and messages creates a sense of emotional exhaustion. While technology offers instant access to a vast amount of information and interaction, it can also contribute to a sense of superficial connection, where the depth and quality of relationships are sacrificed for the sake of convenience and speed. In addition to these emotional effects, the sheer volume of communication in digital spaces can lead to information overload. We are constantly bombarded with messages from multiple platforms, emails, social media updates, text messages, and news alerts. This flood of information can lead to feelings of overwhelm and stress, making it difficult to focus on what truly matters or to process information effectively. Filtering through this noise becomes essential in ensuring that we don't become mentally exhausted by the constant demand for our attention. As we adapt to the digital age, one key strategy for effective communication is to develop a balanced approach to technology use. This means finding ways to use digital platforms efficiently while still maintaining the richness of in-person interactions. Setting boundaries around when and how we use digital communication, whether by turning off notifications, limiting time spent on social media, or prioritizing face-to-face conversations, can help preserve our emotional well-being and ensure that we remain engaged in meaningful interactions. It's important to remember that while technology offers incredible opportunity for connection, it should not replace the need for genuine human connection. Another important factor in navigating digital communication is emotional intelligence in online interactions. Since we lack nonverbal cues in many digital spaces, we must be even more attuned to the emotional tone of the conversation. This includes understanding the emotional needs of the other person, responding with empathy, and ensuring that our words are connection with others. When approached with empathy, respect, patience, and a willingness to collaborate, conflict can lead to deeper understanding, stronger relationships, and greater communication. Through conflict resolution, we learn that disagreement is not the end of a relationship, but rather a chance to build a more resilient and communicative bond. As we delve further into complexities of communication, one essential aspect that we must address is the impact of technology on how we interact with one another. In an age where digital communication is ubiquitous, understanding how technology shapes the way we communicate has become increasingly important. Technology has revolutionized the way we connect, but it also presents unique challenges and potential barriers that we must navigate. One of the most prominent effects of technology on communication is the rise of digital communication platforms, email, text messaging, social media, and video conferencing. These platforms have made it easier than ever to stay in touch with others, regardless of distance or time zone. While they offer convenience and instant access to communication, they also come with certain limitations. For example, when communicating through text or email, we lose the nonverbal cues, such as facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice, that are essential to understanding the full meaning behind a message. This can often lead to misinterpretation, as written words alone may not accurately convey the speaker's intent or emotional state. The absence of these nonverbal cues in digital communication can lead to a phenomenon known as a communication gap, where the lack of visual or vocal context makes it difficult for both parties to fully understand each other. This can result in miscommunications, misunderstandings, or even unnecessary conflict. For instance, a simple message like, "I'm fine," could be interpreted in multiple ways, whether the person is genuinely fine, upset, or sarcastic, based solely on the text, without the added context of voice tone or facial expression. To combat this, we must be mindful of how we communicate in these digital spaces, using additional elements like emojis, punctuation, and carefully chosen language to provide clarity and context to our messages. Another challenge posed by digital communication is the reduction of face-to-face interaction. While technology allows us to maintain long-distance relationships, it can also create a sense of distance in relationships that are geographically close. In-person communication fosters a deeper level of connection, as it allows for more nuanced interactions and immediate feedback. Nonverbal signals, such as eye contact, posture, and the physical presence of another person, all contribute to the depth of understanding in a conversation. The absence of these elements in digital communication can create a more superficial exchange, where the emotional and relational aspects of the conversation may be lost. In work settings, the reliance on email, messaging platforms, and video calls can sometimes contribute to miscommunication or a lack of engagement. The tone of an email can often be misunderstood, and without the personal connection of being in the same room, it can be harder to establish rapport or gauge the emotions of the other person. Video conferencing has become an essential tool for maintaining communication in the workplace, especially in remote or hybrid work environments. However, even video calls can sometimes feel disconnected due to technical issues, glitches, or distractions in the environment. While these tools help maintain communication, they can't fully replicate the experience of being physically present with someone, which can limit the effectiveness of the conversation. Despite these challenges, technology also has the potential to enhance our communication in powerful ways. The instantaneous nature of digital communication allows us to share ideas and information quickly and efficiently. We can collaborate with colleagues around the world, engage in real-time discussions, and stay connected to loved ones even across great distances. Social media platforms, in particular, allow us to express our thoughts, connect with people who share our interests, and even engage in global conversations on important social, political, and cultural issues. These platforms have given a voice to those who may have previously been marginalized, allowing for more diverse perspectives to be heard and understood. However, the very same features that make social media and digital platforms so powerful also introduce new challenges. Over-reliance on digital communication can lead to a decrease in face-to-face interactions, contributing to feelings of isolation and detachment. People may feel connected in a virtual sense, but disconnected in a meaningful, personal way. This phenomenon is often referred to as social media fatigue, where the constant stream of notifications, posts, and messages creates a sense of emotional exhaustion. While technology offers instant access to a vast amount of information and interaction, it can also contribute to a sense of superficial connection, where the depth and quality of relationships are sacrificed for the sake of convenience and speed. In addition to these emotional effects, the sheer volume of communication in digital spaces can lead to information overload. We are constantly bombarded with messages from multiple platforms, emails, social media updates, text messages, and news alerts. This flood of information can lead to feelings of overwhelm and stress, making it difficult to focus on what truly matters or to process information effectively. Filtering through this noise becomes essential in ensuring that we don't become mentally exhausted by the constant demand for our attention. As we adapt to the digital age, one key strategy for effective communication is to develop a balanced approach to technology use. This means finding ways to use digital platforms efficiently while still maintaining the richness of in-person interactions. Setting boundaries around when and how we use digital communication, whether by turning off notifications, limiting time spent on social media, or prioritizing face-to-face conversations, can help preserve our emotional well-being and ensure that we remain engaged in meaningful interactions. It's important to remember that while technology offers incredible opportunity for connection, it should not replace the need for genuine human connection. Another important factor in navigating digital communication is emotional intelligence in online interactions. Since we lack nonverbal cues in many digital spaces, we must be even more attuned to the emotional tone of the conversation. This includes understanding the emotional needs of the other person, responding with empathy, and ensuring that our words are respectful and considerate. Online etiquette, or netiquette, plays a crucial role in maintaining professionalism and fostering respectful communication in digital spaces. We must remain mindful of how our messages may be perceived, avoid impulsive responses, and be considerate of the impact our words may have on others. Lastly, while technology introduces barriers and challenges, it also offers a unique opportunity for creativity in communication. Digital tools such as video editing, infographics, and visual presentations can enhance how we convey our messages. Social media platforms allow for more dynamic and diverse forms of self-expression. Through the use of multimedia, storytelling, and interactive content, we can communicate in ways that were once unimaginable. The ability to share videos, images, and even real-time data adds layers of depth and context to our conversations, making them more engaging and effective. In summary, technology has dramatically reshaped how we communicate, offering both immense benefits and unique challenges. While digital communication platforms enable global connection and real-time interaction, they also present barriers, such as misinterpretation, emotional detachment, and information overload. To thrive in this digital age, we must balance the convenience of technology with the need for face-to-face communication, emotional intelligence, and meaningful relationships. By using technology thoughtfully, setting boundaries, and maintaining authenticity in our online interactions, we can ensure that communication continues to build bridges rather than erect walls. Ultimately, as with any tool, the key lies in how we choose to use it, ensuring that it serves to enhance, rather than replace, our ability to connect deeply with others. As we navigate the complexities of modern communication, it becomes clear that the effectiveness of our interactions often depends on our ability to engage in active reflection. Communication is a dynamic process, one that requires not only the ability to articulate thoughts and feelings, but also the capacity to listen, understand, and adapt based on the feedback we receive. Reflection is a powerful tool in this process because it allows us to pause and evaluate our communication, both the words we use and the way we deliver them. Through reflection, we can gain deeper insights into ourselves, improve our communication skills, and strengthen our relationships. The process of reflection begins by becoming aware of our own communication style. Each of us communicates differently, influenced by factors such as personality, culture, upbringing, and past experiences. Some people may be more assertive in their communication, while others may be more passive or reserved. Reflecting on our communication style involves identifying patterns in how we express ourselves and how others respond. Are we clear and concise, or do we tend to over-explain? Do we listen actively, or are we quick to interrupt? Sometimes, feedback may be difficult to hear, especially when it feels harsh or critical. In these cases, asking for clarification can help to ensure that we understand the feedback fully. Questions like, "Can you give me an example of what you mean?" or "How can I improve in this area?" demonstrate that we are engaged and willing to take responsibility for our growth. When feedback is unclear or feels overly generalized, asking for specifics can help us develop a clearer plan for improvement. Receiving feedback also involves emotional regulation, the ability to manage our emotional responses to what we hear. It can be tempting to react emotionally, especially when feedback touches on areas of vulnerability. However, responding with emotional intelligence allows us to stay calm and engaged, which makes it easier to process the information constructively. If the feedback is difficult to digest, it's okay to take a moment to pause and process it before responding. Giving ourselves time to reflect ensures that we don't react impulsively and that we can approach the situation with a clear mind. Feedback can be a two-way process. Not only should we be open to receiving feedback from others, but we should also provide opportunities for others to give feedback to us. In relationships, both personal and professional, communication thrives when it is reciprocal. When we invite feedback from others, we create an environment of transparency and mutual respect. It also allows us to see our blind spots, areas where we may not realize we are falling short. By regularly seeking feedback, we continuously improve and strengthen our ability to communicate effectively. It's also essential to consider that feedback doesn't have to be formal to be valuable. Casual, everyday feedback, whether in a conversation with a friend or a colleague, can have a lasting impact. Sometimes, the most meaningful feedback comes from informal conversations, where people feel safe to share their thoughts without the structure of a formal review or critique. These small moments of feedback can provide valuable insights that help us improve our communication and interpersonal relationships on a daily basis. The role of feedback extends beyond just our interactions with others. It is also a critical part of self-reflection. In fact, some of the most impactful feedback comes from within. Self-reflection allows us to assess our communication style, our actions, and our emotions after conversation or interaction. Did we communicate effectively? Were we clear in our message? Did we listen actively? Reflecting on our own behavior helps us pinpoint areas for improvement and celebrate our successes. Over time, this practice of self-feedback allows us to refine our communication skills and become more intentional in how we connect with others. In conclusion, feedback is a powerful tool for enhancing communication, but only when it is used constructively and with empathy. Whether we are giving or receiving feedback, the key lies in creating an environment of trust and openness. By approaching feedback with an open mind, a focus on growth, and a willingness to learn, we can strengthen our relationships, improve our communication, and foster an atmosphere of mutual respect and collaboration. When feedback is embraced as a tool for growth, it becomes a vital component of effective communication, allowing us to evolve into better communicators and more connected individuals. As we continue to explore the many facets of effective communication, it is crucial to examine the role of emotional intelligence in fostering meaningful interactions. Emotional intelligence, often abbreviated as EI, is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and influence our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. In essence, emotional intelligence allows us to navigate the emotional currents of communication with skill and sensitivity. It plays a significant role in how we connect with others, manage conflict, and maintain healthy, productive relationships. At its core, emotional intelligence is composed of 5 key components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. These components work together to enable us to communicate in ways that are not only clear, but also emotionally attuned to the needs of those we are engaging with. Let's explore each of these components in more detail and understand how they contribute to more effective communication. The foundation of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand our own emotions. Self-awareness allows us to understand how our emotions influence our thoughts and behavior, which in turn affects how we communicate. When we are self-aware, we can assess whether our emotions are helping or hindering our ability to communicate effectively. For example, if we are feeling frustrated, self-awareness helps us recognize that frustration and decide how best to manage it before it impacts the conversation. By understanding our emotional state, we can choose how to express ourselves in a way that is clear, calm, and constructive. Self-regulation, the second component of emotional intelligence, refers to our ability to manage and control our emotions in different situations. It involves staying in control of our reactions, especially in emotionally charged situations. Self-regulation helps prevent impulsive responses, such as lashing out in anger or withdrawing into silence. When we practice self-regulation, we can communicate with greater clarity and purpose, even in challenging situations. This ability to remain calm and composed in the face of stress or conflict enhances the quality of our communication. It makes us more approachable and trustworthy to others. In essence, self-regulation enables us to choose our responses rather than simply reacting emotionally. The third component, motivation, plays a crucial role in driving our desire to communicate effectively. Motivation is the inner drive to achieve goals, pursue growth, and overcome challenges. In communication, motivation fuels our willingness to engage with others, actively listen, and resolve misunderstandings. People with high emotional intelligence are often intrinsically motivated to improve their relationships and work towards common goals. Their motivation helps them stay focused on the outcome of the conversation, whether it's resolving a conflict, fostering collaboration, or deepening the connection with someone. Motivated communicators are more likely to be persistent, positive, and enthusiastic in their interactions, which can help keep conversations constructive and goal-oriented. Empathy, perhaps the most vital aspect of emotional intelligence in communication, is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Empathy goes beyond simply recognizing someone else's emotions. It involves emotionally connecting with them and responding with understanding. Empathetic communication enables us to tune into the emotional climate of a conversation and adapt our responses accordingly. It allows us to show that we are not just interested in the words being spoken, but also in the feelings and needs behind those words. For example, when a colleague shares a personal challenge, empathizing with their emotions demonstrates that we care about their well-being, not just their professional performance. This emotional attunement strengthens relationships and fosters a sense of trust and safety in communication. Lastly, social skills encompass the ability to manage relationships, navigate social dynamics, and engage in meaningful interactions with others. Social skills are essential for fostering positive connections, managing group dynamics, and resolving conflicts. People with strong social skills are adept at recognizing social cues, adapting to different social contexts, and communicating with clarity and warmth. They can build rapport easily, engage in constructive conversations, and resolve misunderstandings without escalating tension. Social skills also include the ability to provide and receive feedback in a way that strengthens relationships rather than creating division. In essence, social skills allow us to interact with others in ways that are collaborative, respectful, and emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence plays a significant role in conflict resolution. Conflicts, by nature, involve heightened emotions, and our ability to manage these emotions in ourselves and others can make all the difference in resolving the issue. High emotional intelligence enables us to remain calm and empathetic during a disagreement, allowing us to listen actively, acknowledge the other person's perspective, and express our own thoughts without becoming defensive or aggressive. In contrast, low emotional intelligence can lead to emotional reactions that escalate the conflict, making it harder to find a solution. One of the key benefits of emotional intelligence in conflict resolution is the ability to regulate emotions during high-stakes discussions. For example, if someone criticizes our work or challenges our ideas, it can trigger feelings of defensiveness or anger. However, if we possess strong emotional intelligence, we can recognize these emotions and choose to respond with openness, curiosity, and respect. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can pause, take a deep breath, and respond thoughtfully, fostering an environment where dialogue and problem-solving can occur. Moreover, empathy is crucial in understanding the underlying needs and emotions in any conflict. Often, conflicts arise because individuals have unmet needs or feel misunderstood. By empathizing with the other person's perspective, we can identify their emotional needs and communicate in a way that acknowledges those needs while also expressing our own. This can shift the focus on the positions we hold to the underlying issues that are driving the conflict, ultimately leading to a more productive and harmonious conversation. Beyond conflict resolution, emotional intelligence is also critical in building strong, supportive relationships. When we communicate with empathy, self-awareness, and social skills, we create a foundation of trust and understanding. Relationships thrive when both parties feel valued, heard, and understood. Emotional intelligence enables us to meet others where they are, attuning to their emotional state and responding in a way that fosters connection. Whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or professional environments, emotional intelligence helps to create communication that is not only effective but also compassionate and supportive. In the context of leadership, emotional intelligence is an essential skill for inspiring and motivating others. Leaders who are emotionally intelligent can build strong teams by fostering open communication, encouraging collaboration, and creating an environment where everyone feels heard and respected. They are able to navigate complex social dynamics, address conflict with empathy, and inspire trust and loyalty. Moreover, emotionally intelligent leaders are aware of their own emotional responses and how those responses affect a team, enabling them to remain composed and focused even during challenging situations. In summary, emotional intelligence is a cornerstone of effective communication. By developing self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills, we enhance our ability to communicate with clarity, understanding, and compassion. Emotional intelligence allows us to manage emotions, navigate conflict, build stronger relationships, and foster positive environments for growth and collaboration. Whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or broader social contexts, emotional intelligence is key to fostering communication that is not only effective, but also emotionally attuned to the needs of others. As we cultivate emotional intelligence, we become more skilled at connecting with others in meaningful ways and creating communication that is grounded in empathy, respect, and mutual understanding.